Alright, so the other day, or a week or so, I made a video about Flip Saunders dying, and it was interesting that he died at the age of 60. I said it all went back to the NBA All-Star Week that happened on the same days as Lupercalia, that involves the sacrifice and the celebration of the wolf. Zach Levine here, he won the slam dunk contest doing the Michael Jordan Space Jam dunk, and also Andrew Wiggins won the Rising Star Challenge, and they were both teenagers at the time. They were 19 years old, so they were teen wolves. And then, of course, when you think of Teen Wolf, the movie with Michael J. Fox, MJ Fox. I talked about Michael Jordan, so MJ Jordan. Interesting, it's just the two MJs. But the interesting thing was that Flip Saunders died at the age of 60, just like Moses Malone, who died at the age of 60 this year. Moses Malone was the first player to go out of high school and play in the ABA, and Daryl Dawkins just died as well. And Daryl Dawkins was the first player to go out of high school to play in the NBA. They both died this year. Daryl Dawkins, his name even adds up to 60. There's a ton of other 60 connections recently in the news. I even talked about how in the movie Teen Wolf, they have a bunch of Nebraska Cornhusker stuff in the background of the movie. The movie doesn't take place in Nebraska. It has nothing to do with Nebraska at all. But Lincoln, Nebraska adds up to 60. Also, Abraham Lincoln even adds up to 60. I also talked about how Flip Saunders began his career at the Minnesota Timberwolves on the 21st game of Kevin Garnett's rookie season. So he started head coaching the 21st game. Kevin Garnett even wears number 21 for the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's also his 21st season this year. And interesting to point out that 21 adds up to 141, and also Skull and Bones adds up to 41. I've talked about these two numbers a whole bunch. 141 is the mirror, 14 and 41. A lot with the Miami Dolphins and whatnot. But it comes up again later because Flip Saunders, it's all about the synagogue of Satan and whatnot, and I'll talk about it later on in the video. Also, just wanted to point out too, February 1st is written as 2-1, kind of like 21, and there are 333 days remaining. That's interesting because Philadelphia is 333 years old as of October 27th this year. So Moses Malone played for Philadelphia, Daryl Dawkins, Philadelphia. You even had this guy, the oldest NBA employee that was from Philadelphia, or he did this Philadelphia 76ers. He died this year as well. He called the Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game. But moral of the story, Daryl Dawkins was a teen NBA player. Moses Malone was a teen ABA player. Kevin Garnett was a teen NBA player, but also a teen Wolf. He was the first teen Wolf. I even noticed that it says he spent 12 seasons in Minnesota wearing number 21 before he left, and he came back last year. So literally Flip Saunders became the coach on the 21st game when Kevin Garnett was number 21. Kevin Garnett stayed for 12 seasons, and then now it's his 21st season and Flip Saunders dies. I also talked about how the Los Angeles Lakers were actually originally from Minneapolis. They were the Minneapolis Lakers. And I talked about Kobe Bryant in multiple videos, not even just the one from a week ago. And he's number 2 on the most points scored. He's behind Wilt Chamberlain. He had 81 in the game. But Kobe Bryant is literally even from Pennsylvania. Actually, even born in Philadelphia. So anyway, I talked about how I'm sure Lamar Odom was probably connected in here somewhere. Lamar Odom was known for being the 6th man on the Lakers, whatever. NBA 6th man of the year in 2011. But an interesting thing that I noticed is that the Lakers literally have Lou Williams this year, who was the 6th man of the year last year. I mean, what are the odds of that? Just want to point it out. So he was named the NBA 6th man of the year in 2015. I mean, just strange that Lamar Odom's in the news. He was known for being the 6th man, whatever. Also, he signed with the Lakers then on July 9th. But he was drafted by none other than the Philadelphia 76ers. Also, wouldn't you know, he came directly out of high school to the NBA. Right here, the 45th pick in the 2005 draft. He was even born on the 304th anniversary of Philadelphia being founded. And I just remember last year during the playoffs, Drake was all about this guy because he played for Toronto. And Drake even had the album called If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. And he had a song called Six Man. And he referenced Williams, and then Williams became the sixth man that year, later in the year. But it says the song was even released on 2/12, like Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Talked about this number over and over. Kansas City Royals adds up to 2/12. It's the 43rd day of the year. Drake is all about like just Illuminati symbolism and whatnot. Tons of sixes on this album, supposedly for the area code of Toronto, which is 416, which is confusing to me. But I think I read somewhere that he has 6 fingers, which is pretty interesting as well. But I don't know how true that is. But I wanted to point out the song is even track number 12. And of course the full album actually was released to iTunes on the first day of Lupercalia last year. The same day that Andrew Wiggins won the MVP of the Rising Star Challenge. The first day of NBA All-Star Weekend. Anyway, I know I talked about this probably back around the playoffs time in the NBA, so I'm going to move on a little bit. I wanted to point out that Lou Williams, so the Lakers just so happened to play Minnesota the first game of the season this year as well, and Lou Williams even scored 21 points. So it's just kind of interesting. All these 21s or whatever, he was the sixth man, and then the Kevin Garnett stuff. They're both teams and whatever. But the Lakers were totally owning this game. There's no reason they should have lost, but they ended up losing, and if you combine the score, it literally adds up to 223. And that sticks out to me because the whole game was a tribute to Flip Saunders, or they did a tribute to Flip Saunders in the beginning of the game. And I talked about this in the previous 3-part video on this, but Flip Saunders was born on 2/23. And literally, he announced that he had cancer on August 10th, the 220, or it's August 11th. August 11th, the 223rd day of the year. So he's born on the 223rd, 2/23, announces his cancer on the 223rd day of the year. Even Andrew Wiggins was born on 2/23. He was the Teen Wolf last year. And literally the Skull and Bones logo here, the Skull and Bones is associated with 322, the mirror of 223. Even the Synagogue of Satan is 223. So, also last year, Kobe Bryant's all tied into this as well, but last year Kobe Bryant broke 32,000 points on, it was 11/18, this article's from 11/19, but 11/18 is the 322nd day of the year. Kobe Bryant breaks 32,000 points. Even look at the total score here, 114 plus 109, adds up to 223. And I'll just scroll down here to show you that he did break the 32,000. He now had 32,001 points. And then later that year, he broke Michael Jordan's scoring record against the Timberwolves. So, I mean, really, it just seems kind of weird. Kobe beats Michael Jordan's scoring record against the Timberwolves last year. This year they play each other the first game of the season right after Flip Saunders dies. I talked about how I was thinking they were mirroring Andrew Wiggins to Kobe Bryant, just like they did from Kobe to Jordan to make Andrew Wiggins a star. I'm not quite so sure about that. Like even Zach LaVine, it could be something to do with him as well because he doesn't start really. Just like Kobe didn't start, he kind of had a slow first couple years and whatnot. So, I mean, who knows? I don't know exactly what they're doing, but it's definitely all tied back into the Wolf and Lupercalia. Also, in regards to the Skull and Bones and fraternities and whatnot, this is the right before the Lakers played the Timberwolves this year. They were talking about Flip Saunders. And just listen to what Doug Collins has to say about the NBA.
We go way back. Yeah. But wasn't somehow his team now has to try to focus on basketball.
Well, you know, the NBA, as Jay always thought, it's a fraternity. It's a big brotherhood. Once you're part of it, you're always a part of it. And, you know, coaches, we're different creatures. We pour our hearts and souls into these young players to try to make them better, to try to help them continue to grow up, to create great lives where they can be great husbands, fathers, friends. And obviously, winning is so important. But that's who Flip Saunders was. He was a man who tried to help develop young men into becoming, you see Kevin Garnett, maybe his poster child for that.
So whatever. The NBA is a huge fraternity and it's a brotherhood. I mean, come on, that's pretty ridiculous. Another reason that I was talking about Zach LaVine instead of Andrew Wiggins, I think it could be something to maybe make him a star as well, is literally because he was the 13th pick overall. So round 1, 13, kind of like 113. Who knows? Michael Jordan is 113. Kobe Bryant adds up to 113. Even when you read down and you read about him, it talks about how his first 5 games he only played 12 minutes. Then Ricky Rubio got hurt, and he started over Mo Williams, and then Williams began to be the starter again. And after Mo Williams became the starter, LaVine scored 28 points off the bench in a 120-119 win over none other than the Los Angeles Lakers. Interesting to note also, 120 plus 119 adds up to 239. This is the 239th year of the United States. Tons of other stuff with that. The Pope came on 9:23 at 9:23 a.m. Lots of other stuff to go along with that. But just interesting, he has his best game or whatever against the Los Angeles Lakers. It even talks down here about his Space Jam dunk or whatever. He even says that he developed his interest in basketball after watching Michael Jordan in Space Jam. He later became a fan of Kobe Bryant and modeled the game after his childhood idol. I mean, just interesting, you know. Kobe's modeled after Michael Jordan. This guy's modeled after Kobe Bryant. So we'll see what happens. There's other like little interesting things here, like his best season game was 37 points, 9 rebounds. They lost to Golden State 101-110. Golden State used to be from Philadelphia. 101. Philadelphia adds up to 101. He even averaged 10.1 points per game last year. 10.1, kind of like 101. Even the word Saunders adds up to 101. Literally flip Saunders. So if you flip 101, it's just 101 again. Philadelphia adds up to 101. Also interesting to point out, too, that the Minnesota Timberwolves have 2 more Teen Wolves on their team this year. They have Tyus Jones, who will be 19, I believe, until... He'll be a Teen Wolf until May 10th of next year. He doesn't really play. But they also have Karl Anthony Towns, who actually plays a good amount. And interesting that... So he will no longer be a Teen Wolf here in a couple weeks. 11 days, it looks like, actually, but he'll turn 20 on the 19th anniversary of the movie Space Jam. There's definitely something going on with the teenage players or players out of high school right now. They're running some type of theme that all ties into this Teen Wolf thing. But literally, they even had this article, says 1 day ago, 20 years ago, KG made his debut before these players were born. And then you read through the article, whatever, and it has a list of all these players that are in the NBA that weren't born before Kevin Garnett's debut in the NBA. But I didn't go through every one of them and look at them, but one of them stuck out to me. It was Golden State's Kevin Looney. A long time ago, when I was talking about all the Space Jam stuff and how it tied into Valentine's, there was lots of weird things that happened on Valentine's Day last year. Even Valentine for Michigan State made the game winner on Valentine's. But Kevin Looney is from UCLA. That's where Zach LaVine is from. That's where Russell Westbrook, who won the MVP of the All-Star Game, is from. That's where Kevin Love is from. Andrew Wiggins went to Minnesota because of the Kevin Love trade. But last year in UCLA versus Oregon on the Valentine's Day, Kevin Looney was the best player. Get it? Like Kevin and Looney Tunes. And interesting, he was born on the Queen's 44th year as Queen. His name in Gematria even adds up to 54. The Mirror of 45. Valentine's the 45th day. Love even adds up to 54. But I'm going to make a part 2, so see you in part 2.